Hi, I'm Kesenya and welcome to another astrology weather forecast. Thanks for joining me. There's so much to look forward to in this first few days of April that we are embarking on. Before I get into the meaty bits and all the juicy stuff that's happening in the sky, I just want to send out a beautiful big kiss and a thank you and a shout out really to Bobby Kaplan, who works on the Astrology site. She's an amazing psychic. If you haven't had a reading with Bobby, I highly recommend doing so. My story is that back around December, I took a look at my year ahead for 2019, did some predictions about what I could see coming up, had a good look at what was in store for me in 2019. And then I happened to do have a reading with Bobby, and Bobby, to my great delight, kept highlighting the things that I had seen astrologically in my chart. And there were a number of really exciting events that were going to be coming up for me. And I'm like, yeah, I saw that. Yes, I saw that. Oh, fantastic. And it was like confirmation from the universe about the things that I was seeing predictively in my chart. And so what's happened now in April, the majority of those things have come to pass. The majority of those things that Bobby saw and that I predicted in my astrology have actually played out in my life. There's really only one thing, maybe two, that are left to unfold, but I can already see the momentum is in motion for that to actually happen and take place. So exciting. And Bobby's energy is so warm and inspiring and uplifting. Even when she's telling you the hard truth about something that might be coming up, you can't help feel energized and buoyant and optimistic about whatever is ahead, even if it's something that might give you a bit of a challenge to begin with. So she has this beautiful approach, this uplifting, joyful, optimistic, abundant energy, and it's so gorgeous. So if you've never had a reading with Bobby, I highly recommend it. And you can also utilize Bobby's services in conjunction with an astrology reading from an astrologer like myself or one of the other readers on the Astrology site, because they work hand in hand and they just give that extra bit of emphasis and oomph and alignment really about what's coming up in your future, what you can look forward to, what might be resolved, what is playing out for you. So I highly recommend looking into any of those services, but particularly I just want to shout out to Bobby for her amazing work that she does with such a loving, kind, gentle heart. So what have we got coming up for us in the week ahead? Well, first of all, everybody's talking about it, new moon in Aries. So let's put this around this way. Here is the sun and the moon conjuncting in Aries on the 5th of April. So whenever we have a new moon, basically it's a time for planting seeds. It's a time for sowing. I mean, the gardeners amongst us know that new moon, particularly I think the Lada mentioned in her recent video, and I certainly apply this when I'm working in my garden, which I love to do, that we allow a couple of days either side, particularly on the waxing side of the new moon, before we go and plant things. But basically, once the moon has conjunct with the sun, as it separates, maybe a day, like 2 days afterwards, then you go and put your seedlings in. Then you go and put your seeds in and water them, and they will really take hold and germinate well and flourish and bloom and begin to really get established in the 2 weeks that follow a new moon, and then they'll be off and running with the healthiest start possible. And the same applies to our lives. If we take ideas, if we take seeds of something we want to nurture, something we want to grow in our life, and plant it now and around the time of the new moon, then we can start to see it begin to germinate. Like, it might not bring a flower out just yet, but that seed will start to sort of take hold, take grip, get established as a means to perhaps leading into something bigger and better next month, and so on and so on. Everything is cyclical in astrology. The moon, all the planets, I mean, they all work on cycles. And so energy-wise, we need to tune in with the cycles of the universe, and particularly for us here on Earth, the cycle of the moon is very, very important. So now is a time for planting your ideas, establishing, growing, putting your seeds in the ground. Maybe you've got an idea for a new business. Well, now's the time to do the planning around the new moon. Do the planning, do a bit of networking, set up a website, do your marketing, establish something new. Great time for doing that sort of thing. Maybe you want to establish a new friendship and you've just started university like a month or so ago, or if you're in Australia you would have, and you've spotted someone across the room. Oh, they look quite nice, you know, across the lecture hall, and I'd really like to get to know them. Now's the time to plant that seed. Ask that girl or that guy out for a coffee after lecture or something. So there's a million different ways we can plant seeds, you know, in our life. Maybe you've got a seed of an idea. Maybe I want to work on my relationship this month. That is the seed that I want to grow and flourish. And so you work on your current existing relationship and you plant some, you know, like let's go on a date night, let's go to the movies, or let's go for a swim together at the beach or something. And you plant some seeds that are going to help grow your relationship at this time. Anything that you nurture and grow is basically a seed idea. And it's very connected to the moon. And this is why Cancerian people do so well in business, ironically enough. They're not all about just nurturing the children. That's a very maligned perspective of what Cancer energy is. In fact, the United States is ruled by the moon, Cancer energy. And where do we find most of the world's entrepreneurs and business ideas? And they come from America. America is brilliant at doing that sort of thing. It's the land of opportunity. And this is because it has this Cancerian, we'll call it moon-like energy of taking a seed and growing it to its maturity. That's what true nurturing is. So you take a baby, like a seed human, and grow it to its maturity at 18 years of age when you're waving it off to university. You can take a business idea that is just infantile in your mind at this time, and you start to grow it and nurture it and help it mature to its fullness. And that might take years, but you start with the seed and you grow it to its fullness. You might actually literally start with a garden, a big empty paddock, and you want to turn that into the most divine botanical garden the world has ever seen. And so you start with this seed idea and you begin slowly, and over time, through nurturance and care, it blossoms and grows into an actual beautiful work of art as far as gardens go. So I hope you're getting the picture. Cancerian moon energy is about nurturing, but it's so much more than being the mother, the matriarch. It is about helping something grow from its infantile state through all the way to its maturity. And that contrasts a little with the sign of Aries, where this new moon is taking place. Aries is very much the entrepreneur who will start something up, bang, 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 away we go, let's get into it, let's be creative, let's be, you know, let's get the job done. And they're a sprinter, they're off and running, and away they go. But they can only last, you know, the 100 meters unless they've got something else in their chart that's more enduring and long term. They're not the marathon runner. They tend to build an idea, do a great job of it, be very creative and instigate something in an amazing, dynamic, energetic way, and then they'll handball it off to somebody else to continue to grow it to its maturation, generally. Because they're all about ideas, and they're getting lots of ideas, and they're very enthusiastic, and their attention's over here 1 minute and over here the next, and let's go do it. And that's the energy of Aries that's actually very, very beautiful and needed in the world. But we've got the combo of the two happening now, with the new moon happening in the sign of Aries, and of course the sun is exalted in Aries, so the sun is powerful as well while it's in Aries. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. So we really have this beautiful energy of starting up, of getting things going, of planting seeds right now. You can take that energetic entrepreneurial energy, that creativity, that startup energy of Aries, and you now can combine it with the long-term approach of the moon, that nurturance, that growing, that helping something rise to its maturation. So this is actually a very beautiful new moon, because you're combining energy and enthusiasm and invigoration with the maturation, the care, the nurturance that's needed to help something really blossom and reach its fullness. You're going to be able to start it up, and you're going to be able to keep it going right to the end. So what you begin now, sorry, I've got hair in my mouth. What you begin now can last for the long term. What you begin now, what you sow now, that idea, that seed, that business idea, that friendship, that relationship, whatever it is, that can really go the long haul for you now and start with energy and invigoration at this time. So I'd encourage you around the time of the new moon, the 5th of April, write down all your ideas, any thoughts that come to you, and this is a time of great invigoration for your thought processes and the ideas that come to you for your future. Write them all down, and maybe if you're into doing this sort of thing, offer this as a ceremony, you know, like offer this to the universe. This is my dream, this is my goal, this is what I want to nurture to its fullness right now. Hear me and align with me in this. You know, you can offer it as a prayer, you can offer it as a ceremony, burn some candles, sit out under the energy of the new moon. Even though the moon is invisible, the energy is abounding, and this is what my children and I actually do around the time of the new moon. While we're on this, we love to go out, and there's a beautiful spot by a river that's about half an hour from the town in which I live, and we take a blanket and a doona at this time of year. It's getting a bit cooler, and we lie on the blanket, have maybe a bit of takeaway food or something like that, and just watch the stars come out one by one. We don't have any, well, we might have an iPad that's got an app for where the constellations are and so on, but that's about as far as it goes. We set ourselves apart from tech, and we just lie there. There's a satellite, there's a shooting star, oh, that's Orion's belt, and you know, we look at what's going on in the skies and just lay there. And the last time we did this, we were there for about 2 hours or so, just enjoying the stars come out in all their fullness. And this is actually very grounding to do this. And at the new moon, time of the new moon, there is not a lot of light pollution, if you want to call it pollution, from the moon, because it's invisible, so you can see the stars so much more, and the energy is around. I tell you, after we did this last time, my children and I, we come home and we are invigorated. We're like, man, let's do that again. When can we go again? It's a grounding energy. It's very stabilizing. It helps you tune in and understand and see really in a very tangible way the energies of the universe. Not just talking about them, not just thinking about them, but actually getting in touch physically with them by being out under the stars, if you're able to do so. And with the milder weather that we've got now, it's not too hot in Australia, it's not too freezing in the northern hemisphere. It's a great time to ground yourself at the time of this full moon and offer the universe your dreams, your hopes, your goals, your aspirations, these seeds that you want to plant right now. Oh, hello. We love to go for a walk. There we are, back to the start. So this is an exciting time. Now, the other thing, and I've been waiting for this, well, for almost a year, I want to talk about this next energy. And this is coming up on the 7th, 8th, and a bit of the 9th of April. So it's going to be happening over a couple of days, because the moon spends 2.5 days approximately in each sign, and I wanted to talk about the moon moving through Taurus this week on the what have I got, the 7th, the 8th, and a bit the early morning of the 9th. These are the times in Australia, so you might like to perhaps jump on planetwatcher.com and see when is the moon going to be in Taurus for you in other parts of the world, but that's when it's playing out for Eastern Standard Time in Australia. And what is actually happening on this day is something really special. It happens once a year. This means it's a very important date, as opposed to, say, a new moon. I mean, a new moon happens once a month, but so it happens 12 times a year, roughly, or thereabouts, fairly regularly. But it'll only happen in Aries once a year, and it'll only happen in Taurus once a year, and so on and so on. So in a sense, it is a unique time, the time of the new moon and the full moon, because it will only occur once every year in a certain sign, generally, unless you're getting, in the case of a full moon, sometimes a new moon, you get it twice in a sign. That's a rare special occurrence. But this particular configuration that we've got playing out here this week will only ever happen once a year. And it is the most blessed day or days or period of the year when this occurs. And this is because you can see here the sun is in its exaltation in Aries, and the moon is in its exaltation in Taurus. Now, this is the idea of this being blessed. A blessed day comes from the ancient Hindu astrology teachings, and it's called, and I hope I pronounce it right, my Sanskrit's not overly brilliant, but Akshay Tritiya. and this is the most indestructible day, the most blessed day of the year in ancient Hindu astrology. So it's very, very powerful because the sun and the moon, the two luminaries, these two planets, they don't go retrograde. They are the two luminaries that affect the earth. The moon affects the tides, the sun affects just life on earth, and they are part of what we call the primal triad in everybody's chart. The primal triad is the sun, obviously, the moon, and our rising sign. And these are like the foundation elements for everybody's chart. They are the most important components of everybody's chart. And then you get little bits and pieces that come off there that give you more detail and color in the picture, so to speak. But the main image of what you're dealing with is seen through the sun, the moon, and the rising sign. So the fact that on this day, we have the sun, or these couple of days, we have the sun and the moon in their points of exaltation makes this very powerful for everybody. Everyone. It's the most blessed day for everyone, not just any single sign, because everybody has the sun in their chart, everybody has the moon in their chart, and when they're in exaltation together, it is the indestructible day. So what does this actually mean for us as it plays out in our lives? Well, before I get to that, I also want to point out that at this time, we're actually having an extra injection of auspicious energy. Not only have we got the indestructible day or the most blessed day with this playing out, but take a peek. Venus is in her exaltation as well, which is the sign of Pisces. And she's conjunct with Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, on this day. Saturn is in its rulership as well. Jupiter is in its rulership as well. Hello, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of the 7. Sorry, we're not talking just visible planets here because we're including Neptune. We've got 6 major planets in their own sign or in exaltation. What a powerful period of the year this is. The only planets that are not in their sign or in exaltation are Mars, Uranus, Mercury up here, sitting in Pisces, and Pluto, 1, 2, 3, 4. So they are the only 4. We've got the majority of planets in their own sign and their own exaltation. So it's going to be a very auspicious, blessed week for all of us. And that's why I'm not breaking this down into individual signs, this reading, because this applies to everybody. So what does it mean? Well, it means everything is auspicious. So those new moon ideas that you're waiting 1 or 2 days before you implement, when the moon starts to become visible again, it's going to fall around the time when this is happening. Bang, 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 bang. So all these new moon ideas are going to really take hold, like a seed that just sends its shoots up, a couple of days after you've put it in the ground. Anything that you start now is going to work auspiciously in your life and be blessed in your life. So if you've been pondering something in the back of your mind, get going now. Get going around the 7th, 8th and 9th, and you will find that it brings you great blessing into your life. So it is a great time for starting new projects of any sort right now. A good time actually for making investments. If you want to invest in the stock market or in a business idea or in a person, we're talking about that nurturing energy of the new moon that will still be playing out after this. You might want to invest in another human being. You might want to invest in a community project. You might want to invest in sort of a building campaign, or you might want to invest in some sort of microfinance startup opportunity for someone in a third world country. Like, the options for what you invest in are endless and amazing. So yeah, brainstorm now in readiness for this chance to really sow some fabulous seeds. So whatever, or the theory goes that on the indestructible day, or days in this case, whatever is done is going to multiply in your life. So watch what you do on the 7th and the 8th and the 9th. If you sow hatred, if you sow bitterness, if you sow hating and trolling on Astrology videos, if you sow any type of you know, mean-spiritedness or lack of connection to the divine, this is what you're going to be sowing for the rest of the year to come. So be very careful. This is a wonderful, fabulous day, but it does come with a warning. Sow wisely, sow well, because whatever you sow will grow and multiply and expand in your own life. So invest not only in the stock market, not only in some big development corporation, not only in you know, your career and your job, but invest in kindness with other people, invest in generosity, invest in love for your children, support for your children, invest in compassion for your community and those less fortunate in your community, invest in support for people all around the world who need you know, your kind acts of charity. And by doing so, you will experience this kindness, this generosity, this compassion, this love come flooding back to you throughout the year ahead. So now is a time for sowing wisely and sowing well. Be very conscious of this on the 7th, 8th and 9th. So these days, they're actually going to be really good for, well, all the signs really, but particularly for fire. This is a fire planet in a fire sign. Fire and water signs. The moon is rules a water sign, but it'll also be sitting in the earth sign of Taurus where it's exalted. So any fire, water and earth signs are really going to notice this a lot. But let me tell you, air signs are not far behind the game here as well. But everyone's going to feel this energy of the sun and the moon in their most auspicious exaltation. Now, another thing that I just wanted to point out, this is not going to be a long weekly reading, by the way. I want to thank everybody who made a booking with me recently for my comprehensive character report and also my synastry reports. God bless you. Mwah. Thank you so much. But it's keeping me on my toes and I'm loving it. So I'm keeping my reading to a minimum this week. But just the same, this is so important and so pertinent for everybody. But what is happening this week, aside from these exaltations and rulerships that are going to be playing out so beautifully in our life, is the effect that's going to be felt on the mutable signs. The mutable signs are going to notice things in a very distinctive way that's different to the rest of the signs. And I'll explain what I mean. Let's start with mutable Pisces. Now, sorry about this, one little second. Me being very unorganized. Let's make Pisces the rising sign. Just a minute. Oh dear, get myself together. There is Pisces rising. Okay, so if we have Pisces rising, this, as you can see, will put all the planets in one hemisphere of the chart. So you can see if we were to divide the chart in half, we get all the planets in this hemisphere, which happens to be the hemisphere of free will. Now this will be a novelty for Pisces, who's used to going with the flow, letting fate take its way and just allowing the universe to take care of it. During this time, with all this auspicious energy, anyone who's Pisces rising is going to be experiencing the opportunity to exert their free will. And like I said, not an energy that's familiar to most of we Piscean people. We like to let the universe take control of everything and look after us. But this is a time when you, with all the planets in your hemisphere, Pisces, of free will, you can actually take some direction, take some initiative, move things forward in your life through your own action, through your own assertions, through your own energy. Put energy into what you want now, Pisces, and you can actually see it start to really take off. I kind of liken this hemisphere to the law of attraction. You hear a lot of people swear by the law of attraction, and then you get a lot of people who say, it never works for me? What's wrong with me? Why can't I manifest what I want? Am I doing something wrong? Is my attitude not right? And we beat up on ourselves because law of attraction doesn't seem to work for us. What a load of hooey. It's really connected more to where the planets fall in your chart, whether you can do the law of attraction or whether you can't. And I've written an article about this for the Astrology site. But if you have all your planets here in the hemisphere of free will, then you can do law of attraction, and it works for you because you put what you want out there to the universe, you believe it, you know you deserve it, you take action for it, and it comes back to you. It happens for you. It unfolds for you. That is what happens with all the planets putting their energy into the hemisphere of free will. So now, Pisces, you can do this. You can take action and see results for the action that you take. It's a very blessed time in that regard for you guys. Converse to that, if we were to have Virgo rising, there we are, Virgo is rising. Where does this put all the planets? In this hemisphere, the hemisphere of fate. So this is when we are born with a natal chart that has all the planets in the hemisphere of fate, and we're trying to do law of attraction, put it into the vortex, dream it, imagine it, have the right attitude, be upbeat about things, be positive and all that stuff, and it's not happening. We're like, what's going on? Why? What's wrong with me? And this is where I struggle, because law of attraction works for some people, but not everybody, particularly the people who've got all their planets in the hemisphere of fate. Because no matter how hard they try, no matter how hard they push in a certain direction, if it's not what the soul has contracted to manifest before incarnating, it is very unlikely to ever eventuate in a person's life. I've got all my planets here, and believe me, I have tried and tried and tried in various areas of my life to make certain things happen, and nothing, you know, keeping my energy upbeat and optimistic and putting it out there, and I've done that. I've beat up on myself because I haven't been able to manifest law of attraction. And this is why. And I see it all the time in my clients. They're questioning, why is this not working for me? And I'm going about it the way they say you've got to, and it's not happening. And I look at their charts, and they've got all their planets in fate. This, for Virgo rising people in the coming week, indicates you guys are going to have to practice a bit more Piscean energy. Let go and let God. Trust. This is the key word for hemisphere of fate people. Trust. The universe has got your back. The universe has the highest good in mind for you. And if we can, accept and allow and trust that whatever comes up is going to benefit us in the long run, in the big picture, we're going to be great. We're going to do really, really well. So again, I would encourage Virgo rising people, sow your seeds now, by all means. Water them, plant your ideas, and then grab a nice Mai Tai cocktail, sit on the veranda and watch what happens with the seeds. Where will the energies of fate flow for you? You plant, and then you wait and let the universe bring whatever needs to come to you. Put it out there with prayer. Put it out there with good intention and a sincere, kind heart with the right attitude, and then let fate take its course, and you will be astounded at what comes your way. So both energies are beneficial at the moment. By God, they're beneficial with all this exaltations and good dignities and so forth. But what happens for you guys, for Pisces and Virgo people, will depend on your approach to things. Pisces needs to put action and endeavor into things. Virgo can plant the seeds, pray about it, let go and let God, and see what grows and what blooms, and they will both reap rewards in their own different manners. They aren't the only signs. Like I said, it's all mutable signs this week that are really benefiting from the energies of the universe. If you happen to be a Saggy person, Sagittarius rising, there we are. Oh, hopefully Sagittarius is on the screen. I'll just pull this over a wee little bit. There we go. That's got him. Okay, so if you're Sagittarius rising, well, here is the horizon line, And you can see all the planets are falling in the southern hemisphere of the chart. And pardon me, and this is the area of the chart that represents the private self, the personal you. Once we start getting up into these realms, it's all about other people and the public realm. But down here, it's about your personal private feelings, your resources, your ability to have fun and joy in life, your work ethic. So you can see how you learn, what you learned about, and all these things, they're all very internal, personal. And when we have all the planets here by birth, we can be quite, not shy, that's not the word, but we like our own quiet personal space to reflect, to go inward, to be deep, to be very psychologically analytical almost, or sit with ourselves in a deep, powerful way and have time out. It's a little bit like the energy of Pisces that likes to retreat and escape sometime. But and there's a lot of, I'm not saying that you guys who are born with all the planets in the southern part of the chart are don't have the capacity to be famous or well known. There's lots of examples of people with the majority of planets in the southern end of the hemisphere who have become very well known. I think off the top of my head, Amy Winehouse was one, and she became very, very well known. But she's actually a very good example. You know, she kind of struggled, not because of all the planets down here. She struggled for other reasons in her chart, but she had battles with being in the public eye, and she needed her private space, and she actually spent about a year of her life, I believe, away from the public eye at some retreat in the Caribbean or something, just having some private time to regroup. This is the energy of planets in the southern hemisphere. It's very much about going within. So for Sagittarius rising people, this might feel a little bit at odds with your general nature, but this is actually a time when you are going to get great benefit because of the exaltations and because of the being in your own rulership planets. This is actually a really great time for and you'll get great benefit out of going within, exploring your deepest emotions and feelings, really sitting with yourself, being at one with yourself now. Do some exploratory work to understand your deepest, darkest self, you know, your motives, your desires, your longings, you know, and be with yourself in a really deep, watery moon energy kind of way at this time, and you will benefit from that. Now, obviously, the opposite of that is going to be true for anyone who is Gemini rising. Let's pop this here. So, whoa, Gemini rising. You can see all the planets for Gemini rising are above the horizon. And this is especially true if you've got planets around the middle degrees of Gemini or Sag for that matter. So, you know, this is a time for you Geminis to be out there, and you're going to love this. You're going to be out there in the public, being seen, being noticed, being recognized, you know, networking, getting out there, being visible in the world. This is a time when you are going to enjoy that. You're going to benefit from that, you know, in a personal level, but also probably at a very social level as well. And you can really be visible now. You might find, if you're Gemini rising, you get your 15 minutes of fame now, or 15 seconds or whatever it is. You might find that during this period of time you get, you know, you're on the news for something really exciting, or your YouTube video gets, you know, 20,000 likes or something. You're very visible. It's a time for being able to be present and showing up, really showing up in the world. So very exciting period for any of the mutable signs coming up ahead. So that is what I am seeing this week in the skies. I do apologize to the fixed and the cardinal signs who perhaps haven't got quite as influential energy for me to talk about this week, but your turn will come. There'll be a video down the track when all the planets are affecting you in one of these capacities as well. Like I said at the beginning, everything is cyclical and the whole universe works in cycles of movement and momentum. So that's what I'm seeing. I do hope your week is blessed. I'm sure you will feel this magnanimous energy of all the planets being powerful at this point in time. I think almost all of them are direct. So it's a very, very beneficial week for sure. So let's close with a prayer. Thank you, universal energy of love, for the way you move in cycles, the way you help us to grow and blossom, even in ways that we can't see or imagine or aren't tuned into. Make us aware this week of the way your love is moving in our lives, and help us to make the most of this opportunity for planting, for growing, for bringing new things into being, so that we can be more in alignment with our true calling and our true nature. And so it is. Thank you for joining me, and I will catch you next week.